my TTC skedaddler. Got a socket to my big red rattler. Got a socket to my big red rattler.
Ladies and gentlemen, the war on the car stops today. For too long, the city has focused on transit only.
Rob Ford isn't wasting any time. In his first news conference as mayor, he said the process to implement the agenda that got him elected is underway.
And we will not build any more rail tracks down the middle of our streets. Transit City is over, ladies and gentlemen. Their second task will be to develop a plan to move forward with subway construction.
Fantastic day, great day.
To put those words into action, he called a 7 a.m. meeting with the chief general manager of the TTC, Gary Webster, to inform him he's got to come up with a new transit plan.
We've got a large staff in our current offices working on the existing plan. They now need to turn their attention to a plan that's more consistent with the mayor's vision.
The 4 years of work on the city's light rail transit plan, the $130 million already spent, not to mention the $1.3 billion of provincial money in signed contracts, are now in question, and that has some council members crying foul.
The mayor does not have the unilateral right to declare an end to Transit City.
And based on the densities projected both on Finch West, Shepherd East, and along Eglinton, which transit form is most effective?
So LRT can accommodate the demand on all of those corridors currently to 2020, 2031, up to 2050.
Up to 2050. If we build a form of transit that doesn't meet, or we don't meet the density requirements to fund, what's going to happen?
Well, then you're spending money on an asset that's not required when a lower order of rapid transit will meet the demand. So from a planning perspective, once you understand what the travel demand is and what proportions on transit, you size your infrastructure and your vehicle related to it to match that demand. So all that work's been done, and all the corridors that are under review today, Eglinton, SRT, Shepherd, and Finch, all can be accommodated with LRT at grade.
And what message are you sending to the rest of our employees? That professionals get kicked out the door and that toadyism wins? You're sending a message that leadership doesn't count? This man is a consummate professional. You can rely on him and depend on him to give you the truth. You can rely on him not to lie. How many people can you say that about? You can rely on him not to hide reports. You can rely on him for intelligence and decency and honest hard work. And you've relied on him for 36 years. What are you thinking? Today is a clear demonstration of an abuse of power and an abuse of privilege. And I don't want any part of it. He was told what was expected of him. He came through. He not only adopted all the principles we put in front of him, but he surpassed them. You're kicking success out the door. You're throwing away success with both hands. What are you thinking?
Commissioner DeGiorgio?
Motion. I come at this from an angle that really examines the behavior of political administrations of the past. This is not uncommon in the sense that I can't think of one mayor, not only in the city of Toronto, but probably in any other municipality across Ontario, where they haven't run across this kind of a situation, where there is, for whatever reason, difference of opinions, and maybe even value. I hesitate to use the word values because I also think very highly of the general manager, very highly.
Sorry, everyone, please. I'm going to ask everyone to allow the Commissioner to speak.
But excellence in a bureaucracy is defined in a special way. It's not defined like excellence in private enterprise. Excellence in a bureaucracy means the ability to undertake or perform tasks that are consistent with leaders of a corporation. And by that I mean leaders of a city that run across the city. All councillors...
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask everyone to allow the Commissioner to speak. There will be time. There will be time.
To substantiate my position, and I've taken up the invitation. I'm saying that in a bureaucracy, excellence is defined somewhat differently. The ability, in my view, the ability to put forward positions that are consistent with a position adopted by the mayor. It doesn't mean you have to believe in it, but you have to do the best to your abilities to basically defend the position that is being proposed by a mayor. Whether it be Mayor Miller, Mayor Lastman, you name it, it doesn't matter. Every single one of them demanded performance from bureaucrats consistent with objectives they were trying to achieve. And I'm telling you that when that consistency was not there, every single one of them would have done what this administration is doing.
Good evening. Breaking news from City Hall, where the TTC has just thrown Chief General Manager Gary Webster under the bus. Melanie Ng is live with a $500,000 heave-ho. Melanie?
Hey, Roger. Roger, within the last half hour, we saw councillors who make up the Toronto Transit Commission inside here vote 5-4 in favor of terminating Gary Webster's contract. This move was led by Ford supporters. Now, Gary Webster was not inside the meeting at the time of the vote, though he did come outside and make a public statement.
I just want to say very clearly that this is not how I expected this to end, or certainly how I wanted it to end. And but clearly the choice has been made to replace me as the Chief General Manager, and I accept that.
It's been a difficult day. We as I say, we currently now don't have a Chief General Manager. We were not able to put anyone in the interim in that role.
Given the pink slip for giving his opinion, Gary Webster's 35-year career at the TTC coming to an abrupt end today, the Chief General Manager voted out by majority of commissioners at a special meeting called by 5 councillors and allies of Mayor Ford.
This is The City, hosted by Mayor Rob Ford and Councillor Doug Ford on In Depth Radio, News Talk 1010.
Thank you very much, folks. On the line, we have Andy Byford, the Chief Operating Officer and Acting Chief General Manager of the TTC. And as you know, Andy was hired this week, and I want to welcome Andy to the show. Hello, Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, how are you, Mr. Mayor? Good to talk to you. Hello, Councillor.
How are you doing, Andy?
So,
I'm very well, thank you.
Andy, we just wanted to introduce you to the folks, the taxpayers, the great people of the city.
Well, Andy, first of all, welcome aboard. And the folks of Toronto are very fortunate to have someone like yourself with that international experience.
Councillor, the first thing I really noticed when I came to the TTC, and to be fair, my predecessor asked me to do this, I mentioned to him that we really needed to be more organised. It struck me that while there's a lot of great staff doing a difficult job day in, day out at the TTC, there were no real visible, high-level, what I call key performance indicators, which is pretty standard practice in any big transit property across the world.
Well, that's great, Andy, and I love to hear that you're measuring and targeting, because that's the school I come from. We focus on Lean Six Sigma practices in our company, and my theory is you can't manage anything unless you measure it. Once you measure it, you can hold people accountable. They can hit their targets or they don't hit their targets, and we move forward. But no, that's great.
Thank you so much, Andy. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for asking.
All the best.
Thanks so much, Andy.
What I will be doing is offering frank and fearless advice to the Mayor's office, to the Chair and to the Commission, and pretty much to whoever asks it. My job as a transit professional is to know my facts. Obviously, I have opinions based upon experience, but I will certainly be apolitical in that. To me, it's around giving sound judgment based upon fact and not any particular political agenda.
has nothing to do with me. I don't tell the TTC how to do their job. I don't tell Andy Byford how to run the system.
But the mayor did call TTC CEO Andy Byford allegedly because the buses didn't come on time.
I have asked that in future, any matters that could be construed as being sort of personal to the mayor, I would rather he did not call me.
I'm a TTC skedaddler, got a socket to my big red rattler, got a socket to my big red rattler.